Team. My name is Tiffany Scurry. I'm Senior Vice President and Chief Compliance Officer at Western Digital. It's a pleasure to be here today for your sessions. If you're ready to begin, I can go ahead and run through the directions for the 10-minute presentation. Okay, so here's the prompt for that. You've been called back by the company that you gave your full presentation to for a second visit, so congratulations. They've asked you to speak only about the ethical aspects of the problem and to explain why your solution successfully handles any ethical issues. You will have 10 minutes. There will be no Q&A. You may not use slides or video, and you probably don't want to have more than 2 or 3 members of your team do this part. So whenever you're ready, go ahead and begin, and I'll start the timer when you do.
Good afternoon, LSG Sky Chefs North American Board. Our team at HMD Solutions was engaged by the board to consider how to approach improving sustainable food efforts within the aviation industry. We are excited to be here today to further discuss the ethical importance of implementing our proposal that recommends the creation of vertical farms in key locations in the United States and an audit of our current partner farms. With more seats and more flights, air travel has become extremely accessible in ways that the Wright brothers likely could never have imagined. According to the International Air Transport Association, the total demand for air travel in January 2022, measured in revenue passengers kilometers, or RPKS, was up to 82.3% compared to January 2021. In a Forbes article, it is mentioned that there will be 1.8 billion worldwide tourists. The industry has a bright future as travelers are itching to get back into the skies. By 2050, it is estimated that there will be 10 billion people on the planet, and food demand will have increased by 70% compared to 2019. During the pandemic, society experienced a shift to become more conscious in their eating habits. Plant-based became a buzzword throughout the pandemic, and consumers have continued to demonstrate that eating healthier and decreasing meat consumption is not a trend, but rather a new way of life. The benefits of consumers choosing plant-based food options are longer shelf lives and healthier options. Now it is time for LSG's Sky Chefs catering division to prioritize nutrition in the plant-based menus that they developed. While we are supporting the interests of our over 300 airline clients within the aviation industry, it is important that we take into account the interests of their stakeholders and their clients. Being environmentally friendly is not only a moral obligation, especially for an organization in the global aviation industry, but it presents numerous benefits. And as passengers and the public in general become more environmentally conscious, airlines and suppliers can improve both their image and passenger satisfaction levels by acting more responsibly. As a leader within the catering industry, LSG Sky Chefs and its parent company, the LSG Group, has the responsibility to work towards more innovative ways of fueling the air industry. HMD Solutions sees an opportunity for LSG Sky Chefs to grow their influence with the innovative use of vertical farms and unique partnerships with suppliers and key locations that have the potential to greatly impact the industry for years to come.
Thank you, Danny. The use of produce grown in vertical farms has the potential to positively impact the supply chain and LSG Sky Chefs' standing in the industry. For example, during the winter months, the majority of leafy greens in the United States are grown along the west coast of the United States. This can cause delays and backups in their supply chain, getting those products from the West Coast to their locations in the East Coast. Traditional crop production is dependent on the physical conditions of the region that affects the growing season and the availability of certain types of produce. The use of an indoor production facility near key airline hubs in Texas, Florida, and New Jersey alleviates some of the concerns within the supply chain for produce in the winter months. Indoor crop production through vertical farming is independent of the traditional growing seasons that allow for production to be closer to the final destination. This cuts down on the number of miles that produce travels before reaching its final destination and positively impacts the carbon footprint and travel costs as doing so. Additionally, production closer to the final destination cuts down on almost 1 whole week of travel time, allowing for produce utilized in LSG Sky Chefs meals to be as fresh as possible for the client. LSG has the responsibility of providing our clients and their consumers with high-quality meals at all seasons. Agricultural businesses ruin the land by depleting water resources, degrading the soil of its nutrients by overgrazing, and this doesn't help to sustain the business of the environment. Without a healthy environment, the future of food production is at risk, especially as populations continue to rise year after year. There is a distinct difference between large-scale commercial farms and smaller-scale family-run farms. Although these large-scale operations are necessary at times for sheer quantity, they do require large amounts of water and energy specifically. For example, according to the EIA, or Energy Information Association, the US agriculture industry used nearly 800 trillion British thermal units, or BTUs, of energy in 2012. This is about as much primary energy as the entire state of Utah. This puts more pressure on the energy infrastructure and fossil fuel industry, in turn putting more stress on the environment. There is also the issue of ethical labor practices for these farms. At large-scale industrialized farms, workers usually work long hours with inadequate pay for their hard labor. This in turn trickles down through the entire community and local economy, as workers are not being paid enough, therefore cannot provide for their families, and therefore have no disposable income to participate in the local economy. By taking part of these solutions, LSG helps to relieve this issue, as more profit will be going straight to the farmers, as they will be participating in smaller scale operations, and therefore lifting the communities around them. Our solution of creating healthy partnerships with vertical farms and creation of our own vertical farms not only provides a sustainable way for LSG catering via Sky Chefs to source its food, but also makes the customer happy, as they may want to diversify their plant-based food options. LSG making this investment today plants a seed, allowing LSG to reap the sow in the future. Furthermore, the investment in vertical farms and increasing sustainable expectations of any existing suppliers will energize a rapid and promising industry, and therefore adding more jobs to the economy. As a whole, LSG Catering has a moral obligation to adopt our plan to increase better sourcing of sustainable food habits that goes beyond our balance sheet. The future generations' livelihoods and all that rest on them are at stake. The current state of the planet is dire, and there is no longer time for firms to debate what they are and aren't responsible for regarding the effects of their practices and supply chains on the environment. It is simply time to take action. There is no longer time to discuss. The change will come slowly, but firms must have a starting point to start the momentum forward, and society will follow behind them. Our solution does just that. Although LSG is already ahead of the curve when it comes to sustainability and ethics initiatives, there can always be improvement and growth across all areas of their business. Although these solutions are definitely an investment of time, capital, and resources, I ask that you see them not only as investments in the future of the business, but also in the livelihood of future generations and the planet. Thank you.
Okay, so does that wrap the 10-minute portion?
Yes.
Okay, great. I liked how you opened with acknowledging that you're coming back to further discuss. I think it's so important in this this event to pay attention to those prompts and the roles that everybody is playing, because those prompts are there for a reason. They're supposed to put you in a position to deliver a certain kind of presentation. So I think doing that acknowledgement is important because it sets the tone for the day, and everybody in the room here that all of us already know something about this issue. We've talked about it before, and you're now coming back to give some further information. So I like that you did that. I like that you talked about LSG's standing in the industry. I think references like that give me, as an LSG board member, something to latch onto in terms of why I want to adopt the solution that you're promoting. So things that tie it to the industry or to the market that I'm trying to grow or to returns that we're going to see. These are all things that can help influence somebody that's sitting in the role that I was supposed to be playing. On the flip side, I heard some things that, you know, maybe if you're really taking the role playing to heart, I guess, may have come off a little bit as lectury. I'm not sure that you would necessarily walk into a real LSG boardroom and lecture the board members on their moral obligations, for example. That might make them feel a little bit standoffish, and it might not be the best technique for influencing them to do something. So just always keep your audience in mind, who they are, how you're going to appeal to them, how you're going to make them like you and like what you're saying and want to follow along with what you're saying. You did mention adding jobs to the economy, so that was a good thing, right? That's something that, from a business perspective, somebody's going to say, well, that's good. So that's a reason to do it. With that said, if the team has any questions, I'd be happy to discuss or give any more feedback. How has your experience been so far in this competition?
It's been great. I personally, I love the difference in presentations. Instead of just doing, you know, the normal 25-minute PowerPoint presentation that, you know, we're used to. It was really cool to kind of challenge ourselves in that way of, you know, having those different scenarios and the different parameters around the presentations that we did, whether it's a 90-second elevator pitch. I really appreciated the roles and the kind of scenarios that went along with it, instead of just saying, you know, hey, do a 90-second pitch, saying, you know, you are going to be coming from the side of being an employee and that sort of thing. I thought that was really interesting, and that was something that I hadn't really experienced before. So I really enjoyed that part of it for sure.
Yeah, I agree. I like that part of the competition, that they set up these role-based scenarios for you, because they're very realistic. I mean, if you're sitting in a boardroom, it's going to be one thing. If you're bumping into an executive in the elevator and you've got your 90-second chance to try and influence that person, that's a whole other kind of presentation or way to try and make your point. So, and all three scenarios that the competition lays out, they're all very realistic, and they're all things that will happen in your career on a daily basis. So it's a great opportunity to experience those different kind of constraints and figure out how to operate within them. And I'm sorry, I think I cut you off, Heidi.
No, it's okay. I think for me, what I really appreciated was the feedback after, and like how between yesterday and today, and I, you know, talking with my team, just trying to really hone in on the issue at hand. I think that definitely allowed us to, you know, challenge our thinking, but also propel us in presenting today. So I definitely like the quick turnaround. And I really do appreciate the feedback, because it's very genuine and it's honest, and it's something that we can move forward as in our careers.
Okay, any other questions? All right. Well, thank you so much for participating in the event. I really enjoy the opportunity every year to experience this and see all of the hard work that you put into this. I have to tell you, it's very inspiring to see what all of you can bring to the table and do. So thank you so much for putting everything into it.